skipping the preamble this time, let's talk about Ferrus Manus and the Legion of the Damned. Now, one of the more popular ideas that seems to have taken root in the 40k fandom in recent years is the idea that Ferrus Manus, the Primarch of the Iron Hands, has become a member of the Legion of the Damned. Now, for those of you who may not be aware, the Legion of the Damned are basically ghost space marines, to grossly oversimplify. They are space marines who appear out of nowhere who are perpetually on fire and covered in symbols of death like skulls and bones and that kind of thing. Now, the idea that Ferrus Manus has become a member of the Legion of the Damned comes from the novel Master of Mankind, for during the events of the war within the Webway, the Emperor of Mankind gets off of the Golden Throne and goes into battle against a demonic horde led by the demon Draknien. Now, during the battle, the Emperor draws his sword and basically uses it to deliver a slash which creates a tidal wave of psychic fire. Now, in this fire tidal wave, or wave of psychic fire, whatever you want to call it, there are shadowy shapes which are stated to be the ghosts of the betrayed dead of Istvan. And at the crest of the wave, there is basically, well, it's basically Ferrus Manus. A form described as the 10th son of a dying empire, and Ferrus Manus was the 10th Primarch, Primarch of the 10th Legion. Now, because of this, a lot of people have come to the conclusion that Ferrus Manus has become a member of the Legion of the Damned, because the shadowy shapes of space marines that have appeared in the flames as well do have a description that is very similar, if not evocative, of the Legion of the Damned. So it's easy to see where this idea came from, and the idea of Ferrus Manus being basically the Primarch of the Legion of the Damned, it's a really cool idea, It gives the Primarch who died first during the Horus Heresy, effectively a second chance, coming back as a Primarch equivalent of Ghost Rider, an undead giant who is perpetually aflame, that kind of thing, and it is a really cool visual, so I can totally understand why people, have come to that conclusion and, have accepted that idea wholeheartedly. But in my personal opinion, I don't think this is the case, as in I don't think Ferrus Manus is a member of the Legion of the Damned. And the reasoning for this comes down primarily to the language used in the passage describing Ferrus Manus' appearance, which is thus.
A giant among giants, its great hands bared and ready as it seared forwards at the crest of the tidal fire. The 10th son of a dying empire, so briefly reborn in his father's emulating wrath.
Now, the key word I think people should take away from this passage is the word briefly. The 10th son of a dying empire, briefly reborn, in this case. So, to me, this isn't so much Ferrus Manus becoming a member of the Legion of the Damned, as it is a, for lack of a better term, a Ferrus Manus-shaped fireball. Now, this kind of thing isn't unprecedented in other media, when you look at things like video games, anime, cartoons, comic books, whatever, you will always find a character who will deliver a super powerful attack that takes the form of a dragon or a mythical creature or something like that. And yes, I know the rules between franchises are different, this is just basically an overgeneralization, but my point is, this to me comes across like a Ferrus Manus-shaped fireball. Because if you take for example the video game Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, I swear I'm going somewhere with this, don't worry. But yeah, in that game, the Red Mighty Morphin Ranger has a super move in where he basically casts a fireball the shape of a T-Rex. Now, this isn't him, actually summoning a real T-Rex, it's just a T-Rex shaped fireball. But the reason it's like this is because his power is drawn from a T-Rex and it is symbolic of the power of the attack. And that's what I think is happening here. The fact that it's a Ferrus Manus-shaped fireball, to me, is invocative of a symbolic gesture. It's symbolism. It's basically a way for the Emperor to, turn the fact that Ferrus Manus was the first Primarch killed as a result of the treacherous actions of Chaos, being given a symbolic chance to strike back against those who caused his death ultimately. I know it wasn't Draknien specifically who killed Ferrus Manus, but it was Chaos in the essence that Fulgrim, possessed by the Blade of Leia, killed Ferrus Manus. So, to me personally, and this is just my opinion, if you want to believe that Ferrus Manus is a member of the Legion of the Damned, that's totally cool, but personally, I think the attack was a symbolic gesture. Nothing more, in my eyes. It was a symbolic act, it was a Ferrus Manus-shaped fireball, and personally, I don't think Ferrus Manus is a member of the Legion of the Damned. Because if he was, you'd think that with all the other times the Legion of the Damned have turned up over the past 10,000 years, someone would have mentioned, a giant damned legionary, amongst their ranks, that kind of thing. But there hasn't been. And to my knowledge, I don't think there's ever been, a depiction of a Primarch damned legionnaire either. They're all firstborn. So that does fit with the idea of them being born from the betrayed dead of Istvan. That does fit. But I personally don't see Ferrus Manus himself being a damned legionary, because if he did, he literally showed up for 10 seconds and was gone. Which is what's the point in that case, But anyway. What do you think of the idea of Ferrus Manus being a legionary of the damned? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.